Welcome back everyone to more X4 Foundations content here at Pit Gaming. Today's video is all about the Offline Ventures mod. Now first and foremost, I'm going to leave a link in the video description below directly to the mod on the Nexus mod site, and I highly recommend reading through all of the details about the mod. What we're going to be covering in today's video is simply an introduction to the mod. It is in early beta with a lot of plans to expand the mod as time goes forward. We're going to be talking about how to get started, what you're going to need, what to do with your ships, as well as finally the ventures that are currently available in the mod and some of the rewards that you might get. So let's get started. To begin, let's start with the steps we need to take in order to be set up for ventures. The first thing we need to do is make sure that on one of our stations we actually have the venture modules. So to show you those, I'm going to come into the build plan of one of our stations. In fact, the only station I currently have in this new playthrough. And if I zoom in here, we need to build our venture platform and then our venture dock. The caveat to this is, while we do need to build these in order for the mod to function, we will not actually be using these in order to begin ventures, check on the status of ventures, and so on. So you'll not be using the dock in order to have ships ready to go on ventures. This is going to be a little bit different than with the online ventures that are part of the official game. By the same token, we're not going to be coming into the venture platform and taking a look at ventures that are available, ships that we have available to send on ventures, and so on. So basically, these are build them and forget them. So now that we've got those modules built, we need to have some ships to send out on ventures. Now, you don't have to send out multiple ships on a venture, but you do have the option of sending out a fleet, which, as we'll see here shortly, will greatly increase your chances of success. So in order to set up our ships to go on ventures, we have fleets. And in this case, I have fleet number 1 is named Venture 1. Now this is the flagship or the commander ship of this particular fleet. As I mentioned, you don't have to have a fleet, but you do have to have one ship that is named Venture 1. And then under that as subordinates, I have 4 additional vessels. Now this particular venture fleet is set up for trading missions, not necessarily for fighting. So keep that in mind. The type of ships that you're going to be building and using will be determined by the venture that you decide to go on. So here, the flagship or the commander ship is named Venture 1, and then I have my subordinates underneath that. That's how you would set up your fleet. Now there's plans in the future, because this is still beta, to change that to where this naming is no longer required. However, as of the recording of this video, it is required to name Venture 1, and then your second fleet would be Venture 2, Venture 3, and so on. We have a total of 3 fleets available at the very beginning by default in the mod, with an option to purchase additional fleets, which we'll see here in just a second. So now that we have our venture modules on our station, and we have at least one venture ship, we're ready to send them out on a venture. But before we can do that, we need to know how. And the way we do that is we actually come to the factory that has the venture modules installed, and we're going to set up a comm with our manager. So we come in under the manager and we simply right click on her, set up a comm, and you notice that in the bottom left hand corner of our available options, it says ventures. Okay, we have some different options here. Venture info is going to tell us how many ventures we've currently done, how many we have outstanding, how many have been successful, how many have failed, and so on. Because this is a brand new playthrough, I don't have any ventures. So when I click on this, you can see it's going to have zeros across the board. But at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a different playthrough I have where I've done multiple ventures and how that works out. We're going to skip over the reset menu as well as the info help, because as of now, it is not functional. But if we come in under fleet management, this is where the Venture 1, Venture 2, and Venture 3 is going to line up. Fleet 1 corresponds to Venture 1, Fleet 2 to Venture 2, and so on. So we would come in, we would choose the fleet that we want to send on a particular venture, and then we simply choose a mission. Okay, we've got 4 available missions as of now, with plans to add many more in the future. So we've got an exploration mission, we've got a search for resources or a mining/trading mission, and then we've got a couple of fighting missions that have some very nice rewards. So now that we see what is available, how we can start the missions, let's take a look in more detail of the missions themselves. Now let's take a brief look at the details involved with each of the 4 currently available ventures. We start out at the very top. We are in the logbook under the tips section. You have an option under each of these missions to export or display the mission details over in the logbook, and this is what it looks like. Under the tips section of your logbook, we start with Explore the Unknown, and this is a success chance rate of 70% if we only send one ship. This is why using a fleet is advantageous to you, because it's going to greatly increase your chances of success. The rewards here are going to be fairly small, and that's because we're using small ships. Okay, our primary ship needs to be an S-type, and the purpose is going to be a fighter. So you don't want to send a trading vessel on this particular mission. And it also tells us under secondary that it doesn't matter which ships we use as the secondary ships, and we can have a maximum of 3 ships for the purposes of increasing our success chances. Now you can send, as I understand, you can send as many as you want to, but only a maximum of 3 will actually increase your chances. You want to make sure that you fit your primary ship not only with the type, but the purpose. Because if you don't, it will greatly decrease your chances. I believe it's a 10%, maybe more percent decrease in your success rate. So make sure that you match these up. And also, if there is a secondary ship requirement, make sure you match that up as well. Next, let's move on down to the search for resources. And this is actually what my venture number 1 fleet was built for. Okay, this particular one, we have a success chance with, if we only send one ship, of 60%. Rewards are medium. They're a little bit better than our very first type of venture, but certainly not the most lucrative that we're going to see. The purpose of this mission is to mine and or trade. So the type of ship we're going to want to send here, our primary vessel needs to be a medium ship that is a miner/trader. So that tells us what we need to do there. Our secondary ships, if we choose to send those, will need to be of the S variety, and we can send a maximum of 5 ships to improve our success chances. Okay, then as we move down to the next option, it is a fast ambush on unknown hostiles. In this case, if we only send one ship, we only have a 40% chance of success. The rewards here are high. Duration is 2 hours here, akin to what we saw under the resources mission, whereas our Explore the Unknown was only 1 hour. So that'll give you an idea of the time frame that you're looking at. And also about the time frame, because these are offline ventures, these will not progress when you're not playing the game. So if you start one of these 1 hour ventures and then simply save the game and exit, when you come back to the game, it's going to pick up right where it left off. It will not run while you're offline. So keep that in mind over the point of the duration of these. This is only game time that is considered, or at least that's the way it's worked for me so far. We'll see how that goes as we progress through the life of the mod. So in this particular mod, 2 hours, it is a fighting mission. So our primary ship needs to be a medium fighter. And then our secondary ships need to be of the S variety, and we can send a maximum of 6 ships. And this is one of those that you're probably going to want to send close to, if not the max number of ships, in order to better your chances of survival and success. Okay, and then finally we have the fourth and final venture of Attack on Hostile Outpost. Now, this is where you can actually do things that you can't do with the online ventures. Currently with the online ventures, you can only send the smaller medium-sized ships. Well, here we can send large and extra large ships. And the Attack on Hostile Outpost, we have very high rewards, but you notice our success chance with only one ship is 20%. So you're probably not going to want to do only one ship, instead send a fleet. So it's going to be a 4-hour mission, very high rewards. It's going to be a fighting mission, as you can guess from the title of the mission. And our primary ship needs to be either a large or an extra large ship. Secondary ships need to be of the medium variety, and we can send a maximum of 10 ships. So you can very quickly tell why the rewards would be very high, because the cost involved in just the ships alone is very high. Now, as I mentioned before, please do go to the link provided below and read up on all of the details, particularly as this mod progresses. I'm using the very first release of this mod, so I'm sure things are going to only get better as time goes on. Currently, we only have 4 ventures available. Now that we know how to get started, what modules we need to build, how we need to name the ships, how many ships we need, and so on, now we can talk about the rewards and also the events that can happen during the course of the ventures. Okay, we'll start out with the events. There are both good and bad events that can happen. These events can change your success rate, either for the better or for the worse. They can also change the amount of time it's going to take in that particular venture for the better or for the worst. Here we have 2 very good examples of events, one negative, one positive. The first one is negative. We had engine trouble on with fleet number 2, and that caused us to take some damage and greatly decreased our chances of success. Now, when these happen, you'll be notified of these, and you'll have the option to go in, communicate with your station manager, and actually recall this particular fleet in an effort to bring them home without any further losses, including the potential loss of a ship altogether or multiple ships. Next, we move on to an actual good event that happened during one of the missions, and that is the pilot found a shortcut, so that greatly decreased the amount of time that it took to complete the venture. So very nice on both ends there. Next, let's take a look at a couple of successful venture reports and the rewards we got from them. Now, overall, the rewards could be anything from credits to ships, mods for your current ships, or inventory items and crafting items. So it can be any number of different things, a wide array of possible rewards. Here on this particular venture, we had things like flux capacitor, 5 of those, security bypass systems, nadium oxide, and so on. So we had all of these particular items from this one venture. If we move down a little bit further on the screen, you can see that for this venture, we actually found 2 ships. We came back with a Pulsar Vanguard and a Discoverer Sentinel. Both of those in addition to some other inventory items. So though that was a very successful mission, in fact, I actually ended up selling out both of these ships and got a nice number of credits. So that was a very worthwhile mission. But as always, keep in mind, you can fail these missions. You can come back with damage to your ships. You can come back without your ships and have a total failure. So there's a lot to consider here. There are definitely reasons why you would want to send entire fleets rather than a single ship, as we've seen in the tip section of each individual venture. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you very much for joining me. Again, take a look at the mod link in the video description below if you want more information. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned for more X4 Foundations content here at Knee Pit Gaming.